Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is topwaters. But more specifically, we're going to talk about what I call target topwaters. You know, I recently did my members only live stream and I did the entire thing on topwaters, and I talked about each segment of topwater bait, when you should throw them, how to throw them, and really why all topwater baits are not the same. Just because you're throwing a topwater bait and not getting bit doesn't mean you're not going to get bit on other topwater baits. I think oftentimes that's a big misconception, that if one topwater bait's not working, they're all not working. And you could not be more wrong. There are specific times and places for each topwater bait. So I want to talk about one of those segments of topwaters that I call target topwaters. These are topwaters that are meant to be cast to a specific piece of cover, whether it's a dock, a laydown, a stump, a boulder, a small group of weeds, a group of lily pads. It's meant to be cast to a target, and you do not work the bait all the way back to the boat. In most cases, I would say you're working the bait for maybe 15 or 20 feet, at most a quarter of your cast. You're really working your bait around a piece of cover, and that is it. There's a big difference between a target topwater bait and a topwater bait that is meant to cover water. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've got here my 4 favorite target topwater baits that excel in 4 completely different situations. So we're going to break this down and we're going to get pretty in depth on it. Before I do though, guys, if you're looking to support the channel, please check out the link that I provide in the description of the video for Tackle Warehouse. It's my affiliate link. And if you're looking to purchase tackle, please use that affiliate link. It's a great way to support the channel. At the same time, like I mentioned earlier, I do have a members only site, that we get additional videos, you get direct contact to me, and we do a monthly live stream. So check out the members page of that you can go to my YouTube homepage, click the join button, find out all the information you need there. But we really get into some in-depth topics, and it's been going quite well. So if that's something of interest to you, check that out. Okay, so we're going to talk about target topwater baits. Like I said, these are baits that are meant to be worked near a specific target. They're not going to be worked all the way back to the boat. You're really kind of just twitching a bait or working it in a small area. So we're going to break this down into 4 different baits, because these are my 4 baits that I love for targets. And we're going to go with the simple one first. The simple one is just a Pop-R. The Pop-R is really a bait that is meant to be cast in just small twitch. You create a blooping sound, and you're going to be fishing it around any specific target where I would say you have just normal, basic, everyday conditions. So what I mean by that is you can throw it when it's sunny, you can throw it when it's cloudy, you can throw it all day long. But I'm going to specifically be throwing this at any target where I'm fishing in only a few feet of water. I don't have current. I don't really have much weed. I may be throwing it in holes in the weed, but I'm working a specific hole. But for the most part, this is kind of my everyday target topwater bait where I don't have specific criteria that need to be met. Works great around shade lines. You throw it under bushes, under overhanging trees, under docks. You can work it around a laydown, around a stump, a big boulder. It's a great all-around topwater bait. Really, all you're looking at doing is creating, you give it a quick twitch, it creates a bloop, you get a nice little bubble trail, and it really works well. I like to pop it twice in a row, let it sit, pop it twice in a row, let it sit. Generally speaking, it may sit for 5 seconds, I would say is a good medium. And then at that point, I'll pop it again and move it. I'm probably only working this bait for 10 feet. If I throw it under a dock, I'm working it till it's 5 feet away from the dock, and that's it. I think that's the key here. You don't want to work it too far back to the boat, because at that time you're wasting a majority of your cast and a good portion of your time in non-productive water. So you fish it around the cover. I'd say until you're about 5 feet past the piece of cover you're fishing, you can reel it in, make another cast. But an all-around good target topwater bait is a Pop-R. And it's been around for 50 or 60 years. Very good, time-tested bait. Okay, let's get into the other three that are a little bit more specific. And they're all kind of the same category of bait, but we're going to break this down a little bit more. So this is a prop bait. This is more specifically a long, slender style prop bait. This is the Berkley Spin Rocket. It's a phenomenal topwater bait that really excels around the spawn period. If you've got grass or pads or you're fishing areas where you think the fish are spawning, this is a great bait where you twitch it, let it sit, twitch it, let it sit, and the fish, because of these props on there, are real small and just create a real fine sputtering motion. It's a phenomenal bait around fry garters. So not only are you tantalizing fish that are on the bed or getting ready to get on the bed, but fish that have already spawned and are guarding fry have a really hard time resisting a bait that's sitting around the fry where the props are moving nice and steady and just creating a real fine motion. The fish have a really tough time. So if I'm fishing this around the spawn period, this is going to be my target topwater bait. From down south to up north, the Spin Rocket is like the best topwater bait around the spawn period, in my opinion. It's really tough to beat it. It's one of those baits that the pros are using, and they're not saying a whole heck of a lot about. It's also one that's really tough to find because, you know, from my understanding, there's the runs on them are being very limited at this point, so they're hard to get and hard to find. But it's a phenomenal bait. You know, some of the other ones, you know, there's some Bagleys that are the same style bait, but the key here is a longer, slender profile does really good around the spawn period, where you've got real small props that are just kind of creating a real fine sputtering motion. Doesn't necessarily have to be the Spin Rocket. This is my favorite, but there's a lot of other good baits that fall around this. So next up, moving more into the summertime, but still a prop bait, but this is a bluegill orientated prop bait. This is the Brian's B. This is my favorite bluegill style prop bait. This is meant to be fished around bluegill beds. So your target isn't necessarily a hard piece of cover, it's a bluegill bed. And the bluegill bed may be 3 feet in diameter, it may be 30 feet, but here you're throwing to a specific target. You're gonna twitch this over the bluegill bed for as long as it takes for your, you know, to pull your bait out of the bluegill bed. But the bass have a really hard time not eating a bluegill style prop bait if you're fishing around bluegill beds. This is probably, in my opinion, the best bluegill bed out there, and it's just a phenomenal bait to use. So for me, it's a very specific target. If I know I'm going out fishing bluegill beds, this is the bait I'm going to use. The last one, again, it's kind of a prop bait. And the reason I'm choosing a lot of prop baits are the prop baits are not meant to be straight retrieved. You throw it out, you twitch it, you let it sit, you twitch it, you let it sit. It's very similar to a popper, but you've got the props, and the props are what are doing the work and drawing the fish to your bait. So this is the last one. This is actually a discontinued bait. It's a Lucky Craft weight tail. This bait has caught me a ton of fish, and this is my target orientated bait when I'm fishing current. Okay, and that may sound weird to some of you, but if I'm fishing current breaks or I've got a lay down with some current, what I will do with this bait is I will throw it upstream and I will let it twitch. You know, I'll twitch it back to the boat to the point where it's actually drifted downstream from me, and I can keep this bait floating down current right in front of the piece of cover that I'm fishing. The reason I like it so much is when it sits in the water, it sits tail down, so it's weighted. So if it's just sitting in the water, it'll be sitting like that. The current is going over the blade and actually spinning the blade. So I can keep the bait in position right above the object, and the current is spinning the blade for me. I can't do that with any other bait where I'm holding a bait and it's making movement and staying relatively in place. You know, if I had a popper, yes, I could work a popper above it, but I have to pull the bait up away from the object to get it to pop. In this case, I can just hold it there and let the blade move. So I'll twitch it, hold it. It might drift back to the object. While it's drifting back, the current is spinning the prop. Absolute dynamite bait in current. Smallmouth love it, largemouth, spotted bass, everything eats it. But here's the key, is I'm fishing it in current. So I want a bait that performs well in current. So again, it really comes down to what piece of cover I'm fishing and the type of body of water that I'm fishing depicts which of these target topwater baits that I'm going to choose. You know, you could throw a walking bait in some of those same scenarios, but I'm telling you, you're going to generate more strikes by keeping a bait in the strike zone for longer. So if I threw a walking bait and worked it past an object, it's probably only in that strike zone for a matter of seconds versus a Pop-R, which I can literally let sit there and pop and sit and pop and sit for a minute, 2 minutes, as long as I really want. In order to get the bait to work properly, all I got to do is let it sit there versus a walking style bait where I actually have to be moving it away from the strike zone. So it's important to understand the differences between types of topwater. Just because you're not getting bit on one type of topwater doesn't mean the other type of topwater isn't having a great bite. So it really just comes down to the angler and where you're using it. So I hope this was helpful. You know, it's really a great bait for this time of year. Anytime the water's in the upper 60s all the way through the summer and into the fall period, the fish are feeding on forage that can be really replicated well using topwater baits. So give it a try, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, another video coming out tomorrow.